I am Allie Cantor. I'm the Director of Athletics at Simmons College in Boston. And I have been in girls and women's sports my whole career and life. When I was young growing up, I participated in every sport that I could. I loved the value of sports, what I got from sports, and I knew that I wanted a career supporting girls and women so that they can gain the same skills and experience that I had. When I started out, however, it was not okay to be a girl participating in sports. You were right away labeled as being gay. And I am here today proud to say that many years later, it does get better. I remember growing up and looking at Billie Jean King and Chris Evert as my role models. Chris Evert went out of her way to be feminine. Her dress, her attire, her way, her manner, purposely was feminine to be so that she was not labeled. I remember the day that Billie Jean King came out publicly and said that although she had been married, she really is a lesbian. Today, in my profession, I find that it is easier for girls and women at the college level to be who they are and not marginalized because of being an athlete or gay or straight. I don't know, I always knew I was gay, but it wasn't until I was in my 20s in grad school that I acted on it.
When you say acted on it,
Well, had my first relationship with a woman. You know, in high school, and I always shied away from the boys. I never had a boyfriend, didn't want to go to the prom, didn't want, you know, none of that. And then got to grad school and had a relationship with a woman. And then from then on, I just knew. And I cried. I ran 6 miles and I cried the whole time because I was afraid my parents would reject me or my family would reject me. So I kept it from them for years. And then when I finally got the courage to tell them, they were mad at me for not sharing it prior to, you know, that I knew and I hadn't shared it with them for all that time. It must have been 6 years that I lived the life of being gay and didn't tell anyone in my family. And we're a very close-knit family. So my mother cried and my father told me I needed to go to therapy and change my therapist. And my sister was mad at me for not sharing it with her earlier because we're so close. And then, you know, took us 3 years to get beyond that. Now they're, you know, totally fine and strong advocates for others and, you know, have always felt much differently since I came out to them. Oh my God, it was such a relief. You know, I held this inside for so long, and you can't be who you are. When you're hiding a secret and trying to live your life holding something inside of you, you can't be who you are. So it was so stressful. And after telling them, I was willing to lose the relationships of the closest supports I have in order to be free and to be who I am. And so I'll never forget having shared that with them and going through the process with them, which took 3 years of full acceptance on my parents' part. But I was then totally free to who I was. And ever since then, in my late 20s, I've totally been open and know that I want to be a good role model for young girls and others. So I bring my partner and our child to as many events as I can, and we live a full, free, and involved and engaged life fully with community, with everyone in the community. Not just gay, but straight, and where we live and who we are. Well, we live in a suburb, which was a huge move. I'd much rather had stayed in town and in Dorchester because it was so integrated and so gay and there was so much community. But we chose to move to the suburbs so that our daughter could have a better school system. And as it turned out, we were the only gay couple in the elementary school. And so our daughter is Latina from Ecuador, and she has 2 moms, and we were nervous about the reception she would receive in the elementary school and also in the neighborhood. But as it turned out, it couldn't have been better. The school was wonderful. And parents, without saying anything directly, really included her and included us in their suburban community life. So we were pleasantly surprised. All of my nerve, I was the one who wanted to stay in the city, and I was pleasantly surprised, and actually then became, again, more and more open, and instead of fearing what the response would be, so that others could learn. And what I found was people would come up to me and say, well, my sister's gay, or so-and-so just found out that her sister's gay, and what do you suggest? And so people would come up to me and ask advice. How do I do this, and how do I do that? So many years later, with a full career and a family, I am so glad that I chose 25 years ago to live my life openly and freely, and would never have changed it for the world. I know that emotionally I could not handle that. I think I would have missed out on true and authentic relationships with people who have touched my life now. I could not have been as involved in society and the community in which I live and I work, because I was always fearful and I'd have to hide. And it's that authenticity that I have experienced since being open that has allowed me to develop into the fullest person that I can be. So I think it would have been extremely difficult to manage and handle. And I feel today for people, or for the youth who struggle emotionally with the issues that I was faced with. But I do think it is better today, and there's so many more supports. My stepdaughter, I'm partnered with a woman who was previously married, and I came into their lives when my stepdaughter was 12, and we sat her down and we sat her boyfriend down, and we shared that we were together and a couple and so forth, and this goes back 15 years ago. And she looked at us, and actually she looked at her mom and said, Mom, Matt and I knew that. We were waiting for you and Allie to say something. So it shows me how much has changed since I was a teenager. I would say surround yourself with as many people as you can who are accepting of who you are as a person, and to share your story and share your emotions and your needs and your life with as many people as you know that will be receptive and will be supportive, so that when or if you come across people who aren't, you have the strength and the courage to continue and go on. When I started my career, I was in my 20s, and I was coaching at a very large university here in Boston. And one of my athletes, who was gay, had said to me, and I'll never forget it, she said, I developed the relationship first with the person for who I am, and then once the connection is made, I let them know about my sexuality. And that what she said was, what she was sharing was that she found that that was a way to develop relationships, and then to let people know about her sexuality, that more times than not, people would then open their minds and open their eyes and open their hearts to the idea. And so I've always kind of taken that bit of advice from one of my student athletes when I was a very young assistant basketball coach, and it is held true for me. So I want to say that it definitely gets better.